Good evening. I'd like to call our meeting to order. We're going to begin with a presentation of colors, and I'll come back to you, Ms. Doyle, if you're so ready.
Good evening. The colors tonight are being presented by the Naval Junior ROTC Color Guard from Maury High School under the direction of Commander Ross Mabiblia. Please rise, remain standing for the presentation of colors and the reciting of the Pledge of Allegiance.
Order! Arms! Left! Face! Freeze! And goes!
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ready! Cut! Order! Close! Ready! Cut! Right! Face! Forward! Arms! Forward! March!
Please be seated. So this is our last school board business meeting for this school year. Just like to make a couple of notes. If you would take the opportunity to place your cell phones on vibrate or turn them off, we would appreciate that. We're going to move forward right with our agenda. We're going to have the superintendent's report, and then we're going to have a few presentations. And then after that, we will proceed to citizens' comment on agenda and non-agenda items and on with the rest of our agenda. So first, we have the superintendent's report. Dr. Boone.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Members of the school board, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. As we have now closed out the school year and closing out the entire fiscal school year, we have a lot to celebrate in our district. We had successful graduations. We've had lots of positive things going on in the district. There's still a lot of work to be done, but we've had a very good school year. And so as we do monthly, there's a video presentation that our communications department in Channel 47 puts together for us to showcase some of the happenings in Norfolk Public Schools during the previous month. So I'd ask them to roll the video, please.
The Norfolk Council of PTAs hosted a special evening for military children at Terrellton Elementary. During the event, students were able to dress up as various members of the military, receive a student ID from the Norfolk Sheriff's Office, and witness a demonstration from the Norfolk Police Department's K-9 unit. Fleet and Family Services, Navy Federal Credit Union, and Riptide were all on hand to celebrate military-connected children.
Well, the Norfolk Council of PTAs decided to have a celebration of the military child. April is the month of the military child, and we decided to just have a night to celebrate the children, bring them out, give them free hot dogs, a lot of free things, let them play some games, and just have a good time, and let them know how much we appreciate the sacrifice that they make as well as their parents do.
Students at Bayview Elementary teamed up with local professional artists to create a 52-foot military-themed mural. The project, which was completed over the course of 8 weeks, enabled students to collaborate with other grade levels and gave them the chance to share their experiences of being military-connected children. This unique opportunity was made possible thanks to the Young Audiences Arts for Learning Virginia Military Child Initiative.
Here at Bayview Elementary School, we've created a mural. It took about 10 weeks of work, 8 weeks of extensive painting, but it was a process put together through layers and learning the different adaptations of how to apply paint to a surface, this surface being a mural. So it's been very rewarding. The kids, I feel, have worked together overwhelmingly, and I have no words. It's new friendships that have started out of this, and new understandings of the kids, understanding that their potential to become an artist or actually think through their problems with art. And it's cool.
My favorite part is when we all got together and created this crazy masterpiece that nobody understands except for us. So the next time we look at it, we understand. It's kind of like our own little secret.
Middle schoolers from around the district got to learn firsthand what it's like to be an attorney by participating in the district's courtroom law program. Students began the process by working with local attorneys who volunteered to help them learn more about the law and courtroom procedure. After spending weeks building their cases, prosecution and defense teams from different schools were pitted against each other at the new Norfolk courthouse. During the mock trials, students were given the chance to examine and cross-examine witnesses and present their version of a crime to a judge and jury. This unique experience made a real impact on the students who participated.
It was my first time, so it was fun when I was at Crossroads and we just met so many attorneys, and it was just like, wow, and amazing. And I learned a lot of stuff about the law and how you're supposed to say stuff in court and things like that, and how court works, because most of the time when all I knew about court was what was on TV, honestly.
I think the interaction that most people have with the court system is either on TV or a negative experience. And so there are very few opportunities, really until they get their driver's license, to come to court for a positive experience, to see how it runs. So getting them in at this age, when they can learn about the procedure and about the good work that everybody does here, we can offer them a different perspective on the court system.
Following the mock trials, the top prosecution and defense teams were then chosen to square off against one another in one final hearing at Norview High School. After a tough trial, the defense team from the Academy for Discovery at Lakewood beat out the prosecutors from Ghent School. This was the first year a winner was declared in the program, and everyone involved enjoyed this new part of the process.
It was amazing. It was definitely stressful just because you have to get up here and present your case, but it's so exhilarating once you're done, and especially since we won first. I would definitely do it again, and I'm probably going to do it next year. It's very interesting, and we get to work with actual lawyers, which is really incredible.
They did excellent. I was very impressed with their composure and with their thought process. They clearly thought through the problem and were prepared. It's always fun judging this mock trial program, but it's particularly fun now that we're scoring and we have a winner, and just to see all of the students participating fully, and they're so capable, and so it was a lot of fun to see that.
We've been doing it for 12 years, and the students have said, you know, who won? So I wanted to have a bona fide declared winner. So this year we had that winner. This was the culmination of 8 weeks, 10 weeks of work from the attorneys, from the Norfolk Bar Association, teachers from several of the middle schools participated, the students. They did a fabulous job. So we are very, very proud of all of them that were involved.
Norfolk Public School students showed off their artistic and musical talents at the 15th Annual Fine Arts Festival at Norview High School. Proud parents looked through hundreds of works of art in the Commons area, while a variety of all-city music groups performed in the auditorium throughout the day. Young students could even explore their artistic creativity through various hands-on activities. This culminating event for the art and music programs is always popular with parents and students alike. Norfolk Public School students, in cooperation with Old Dominion University, hosted the 8th annual Little Feet Meet. This event, which caters to students with special needs, enabled children who may not get to express themselves athletically the chance to run, hop, throw, and even bowl. The many stations set up at Foreman Field allowed these students to show off their athletic prowess and have a lot of fun.
Well, at this event, it gets them moving, and when you get moving, everything in your brain gets moving, it gets all your adrenaline going, and I think it also includes everybody, which I absolutely love. I think this is awesome. They've done this every year. This is the second time my son's attended, and he loves it. He looks forward to it every year, and I appreciate that they go out of their way to do this for our kids.
In recognition of Autism Awareness Month, 8th grade PE students, along with autistic students, marched around the field in front of Ruffner Academy. The event, entitled Walk a Mile for Autism, was designed to promote public awareness and instill a sense of pride in the students.
Well, this morning we decided that we wanted to do an autism walk. Nobody has really recognized it. So we want to be the first to let them know that it's nothing to hide. It's something to let everyone know that these kids are special too.
A couple of our schools received a special visitor as Congressman Bobby Scott made a stop in Norfolk.
The Virginia School Board Association has a program that we usually do in November called Take Your Legislator to School. And we reached out to Congressman Scott. We also reached out to Delegate Steve Heretic and Senator Linwood Lewis because they were in the midst of elections and campaign and very busy with the General Assembly. Some of them had to push back their visits. And Congressman Scott was very generous of his time today to come out and visit. And we're visiting Norview Elementary and Norview High School. And it's very important for our policymakers to connect the policies that they make and the funding that they give us to the students and the teachers and the resources that are the benefits of those factors. Once they see that relationship, then hopefully they're more understanding of our needs and of the successes that we have.
The students are very well behaved. They're learning letters and sounds, the skills that they need in kindergarten, so they'll be well on their way to achieving the skills they need by the third grade. That's really considered a marker, and we need to make sure that they're there. And if they appear to be well on their way, they're learning letters, they're learning sounds, other activities. So it's I think we're doing a good job in pre-K.
Because he's coming to see these schools, and he understands the population and what is needed here, he is able to take this knowledge and this background back to Congress and better able to craft laws and to advocate for the crafting of laws that will benefit school districts or urban school districts like Norfolk around the country. And so we're glad that he does advocate for us because he has a heart for education and has been a long time advocate of the public school systems in particular.
All 5 of Norfolk Public Schools high schools celebrated their graduation ceremonies at the Ted Constant Convocation Center on the campus of Old Dominion University. During the 2 days of ceremonies, over 1,600 graduates crossed the stage to receive their diplomas, and this year's scholarship total exceeded $67 million. Congratulations to all the graduates. For more news stories and other information about Norfolk Public Schools, watch NPS Now on WNPS-TV 47 or the NPS website.
As you see from the video, a lot of great things are going on. We're so excited about the $67 million in scholarship offers to our graduates. That's a huge figure. You may have even seen a recognition of a student who alone had received about $1.8 million in scholarships. And so our students are meeting goals and achieving very well. We will kick off in the next couple of weeks our summer programs, both enrichment and support. And so I just say, as I always say this time of year to the community, please pay attention to our children out and about and drive safely and help them have a great summer. That concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Boone. I'll just add that if you haven't had the opportunity to watch the graduations, and in particular the speeches given by the valedictorians and salutatorians, I just encourage you to do that. It was great just kind of sitting on the stage and hearing their remarks and their perspective of their experience through Norfolk Public Schools. So next up, we have a series of recognitions. The first one is going to be the Elizabeth River Project. Ms. Banks, do we need to come down for this one?
After we have a brief introduction.
Okay, so we will welcome our guests as part of the Elizabeth River Project.
Hi, good evening. I'm the Deputy Director of Education for the Elizabeth River Project. We're a nonprofit restoring the health of our home river, and I'm honored to share with you tonight an important education initiative we are implementing in partnership with Norfolk Public Schools. The Elizabeth River Project received one of only 5 environmental literacy grants awarded around the country by NOAA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, to help prepare youth for sea level rise impacts and flooding. And it's a grant that goes over 3 years, will reach 21,000 K through 12 students, but primarily in Norfolk. This past year was year 1 of the grant award, and we educated 7,000 elementary students about sea level rise and resiliency, including Norfolk Public Schools' entire 4th grade. We learned aboard our Elizabeth River Project Dominion Energy Learning Barge and at our Paradise Creek Nature Park, and over 7,000 students within the Elizabeth River's watershed grew native trees, grasses, and wildflowers in the classroom for wetland restoration sites in their schoolyards. In addition, we were extremely honored to closely work with 12 1st through 5th grade students from Chesterfield Academy that are here tonight with their parents, and we fostered them as leaders to serve as the voice for elementary students on what they think is important for youth to know about Norfolk's sea level rise impacts and what they can do to help Norfolk become resilient. Now, one of the key products that will be implemented from this education initiative is a youth resilience strategy. That will include resources, curriculum, and actions to help Norfolk youth be prepared, safe, and resilient. Norfolk Public Schools, community partners, and these 12 youth resilience leaders here tonight have begun to develop this youth resilience strategy as part of a roundtable. And I would like to invite you, the school board members and superintendent, to our next meeting, which is Thursday, July 27th from 10 to 12:15. We're still determining a location, and we have invitations that will be distributed to you by Ms. Banks. This youth resilience strategy may be the first of its kind in the nation, and we are so proud to be partnering with Norfolk Public Schools on this important project. I'd now like to introduce the Elizabeth River Project's past board president, Karen Jones Squires, to share why this education initiative is so important to the Elizabeth River and Norfolk Public Schools.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am not only a long-time member of the board of the Elizabeth River Project, I am also a 20-year veteran of Norfolk Public School volunteer system, I guess we could call it. As my children grew up in the system, I did a lot of different jobs along the way, and so I'm here tonight with 2 things that are really important to me and mean so much to me coming together, and it's really pretty cool, which makes me think of one of my favorite words, synergy. And I'm going to read the definition in case anybody doesn't know it. It's the interaction or cooperation of 2 or more organizations, substances, or other agents to produce a combined effect greater than the sum of their separate effects. And boy, I think that really defines what has happened when Elizabeth River Project and Norfolk Public Schools got together through Chesterfield Academy this past year. These children have just grabbed this ball and run with it. And we've got a dozen leaders here that are so amazing. And I think that you're probably looking at definitely some future teachers, maybe future governors, maybe the President of the United States is sitting here behind me somewhere. But I know that they are all going to be good environmental stewards. They have an excellent understanding of the concept of resilience, which will help us in our city as we try to cope with climate change and sea level rise. But I think it will also help them as growing human beings as they cope with the many different challenges our world has to offer them. So I am thrilled to be here and to share this moment with you all. I would like to call up the Chesterfield Academy principal, Dr. Taylor, and his parent liaison, Ms. Taylor. I have to make a really bad pun because these 2 were tailor-made for this project. You can stand right there, and I just want to thank you so much for your leadership in this project, and the Elizabeth River Project would like to give you this Eastern Branch Award. Because you have shown how you believe in your students and you were open to this idea and you worked with us in such a great way and even walked on that crazy high bridge last fall in the in the bracing wind with your students in tow, and it was a wonderful moment. So thank you. And Ms. Taylor, you are an incredible example of volunteers in schools. We know just how hard you work and what you do for the kids, and you have stepped in there and filled in all the gaps. And it's just so important, and we want to take this moment to publicly say thanks for all your hard work. And this is a small gift from the ERP. And now the students.
So thank you. We're coming to the end to honor our students here. And I'd like to call now the Chesterfield Academy Youth Resilient Leaders up to briefly share what's important to them to include in this first National Youth Resilience Strategy. Does this microphone work right here for technical reasons? Let's see. The podium can be lowered, or I can, oh, perhaps I can hold this. Let's see. Okay. All right, so students, if one at a time you'll come up and tell the adults what's important to be in the youth strategy, and then if you'll come up here and line up, that would be fantastic. Okay, you want to come on up?
Hello, my name is Melvin and I am in 6th grade. I would like the strategy to include resources on how to make our schoolyards greener. We want lots of trees, rain gardens, rain barrels, and schoolyards and parking lots that don't flood.
Good. You want to come over here?
My name is Jay Corey and I am in 2nd grade. I would like the strategy to include activities that allow students in inventing cool ways to help capture the rainwater and reuse it.
Excellent.
My name is Josiah and I am in 1st grade. I would like the strategy to include opportunities for youth to work with adults.
Good.
My name is Christopher and I am in 5th grade. I would like the strategy to include places we can go to learn about sea level rise, like the Learning Barge in Paradise Creek Nature Park.
My name is Lauren and I am in 5th grade. I would like the strategy to include opportunities for our teachers to learn about sea level rise too. We would like to see ways that can learn about it and then teach us.
My name is Victoria and I'm in 3rd grade. I would like the strategy to include activities on how students can gain leadership skills to help Norfolk become resilient.
My name is Destiny. I'm in 6th grade. I would like the strategy to include activities on how to be safe when the street floods.
My name is Elijah, and I am in the 4th grade. I would like the strategy to include what some Norfolk public schools are already doing to be resilient. They could mentor each other.
Hi, my name is Elijah, and I'm in the 4th grade. I would like the strategy to include activities on how to make Norfolk greener, including planting trees that help absorb flood waters.
Fantastic. So you can see these students are definitely already leaders. It was a joy and honor to work with each and every one of them. We worked twice a month, and they are such winners and leaders. I want to also present each of you with a wonderful certificate that Dr. Boone has signed along with the school board. Parents, we thank you for supporting such a wonderful project and allowing us to work with your children. Thank you.
While we have the school board standing, our next recognition is our 2016-17 Superintendent's Cup. And I'll ask Mr. Setmiller to come and give a brief description.
Okay, Dr. Boone. Yeah, I see that. Well, athletics would like to thank the school board and Dr. Boone for allowing us to be here to present this special award. Last year we started the Superintendent's Cup for the middle school program, which represents every sports season that we offer to the middle school athletes. And it represents the teams that do the best. So this year, very competitive. Where last year there was a lot of separation, so parity is a nice thing. And competition was good throughout the whole year. So this year we have, again, the winner, Blair Middle School. And tonight we have the athletic director, Kurt Straub, and they brought along a coach, Megan Stocks, who, if I had a coach of the year, she'd win the award. So,
congratulations.
That's the model we want. So athletics, thank you for letting us share this moment. All right.
Our next recognition is in memory of Mr. John William Fowler, and I'll ask Dr. Robinson to say a few words.
I knew Mr. Fowler as part of the facilities committee for Norfolk Public Schools. I had the pleasure of knowing Mr. Fowler as he was brought on. He was our consultant with the facilities, and he was a great man, and he helped. As when we read the resolution, he's done so many things for this region, and Norfolk Public Schools particularly. He saved us hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, in his oversight on the building projects that we had throughout the city. And we are very blessed to have him. We miss him dearly, and he's going to be a very tough act to follow, but we thank him and his family for all he gave to Norfolk Public Schools.
Thank you, and we're honored to have his wife and 2 sons and daughter-in-law here. If you'll please come forward while I read the resolution. Resolution by the School Board of the City of Norfolk in memory of John William Fowler. Whereas on August the 11th, 1927, John William Fowler was born to John Carey and Lillich Castles Fowler. And whereas Mr. Fowler served briefly in the United States Navy at the end of World War II, he graduated from Clemson University with the highest honors in civil engineering, after which he began his career with the American Bridge Company in Chicago, Illinois. And whereas in 1956, Mr. Fowler led the project management team for the design and construction of the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel, and after his 30-year career with Tidewater Construction Company, Mr. Fowler found much joy in consulting with local projects, particularly with Norfolk Public Schools. And whereas in 1997, he consulted on the renovation of and addition to Granby High School. In 1998, the construction of W.H. Teller Elementary School. In 1999, the renovation of and addition to Bayview Elementary School. In 2004, the construction of Norview High School. In 2007, the renovation of and addition to James Blair Middle School. In 2007, the construction of Coleman Place Elementary School. In 2012, the construction of Crossroads K-8 School. And whereas, most recently, under the Public-Private Education Infrastructure Act, known as PPEA, he provided his expertise in the construction of Southside STEM Academy at Compostela, Richard Bowling Elementary School, Larchmont Elementary School, Ocean View Elementary School, and Camp Allen Elementary School. Now, therefore, be it resolved on June 21st, 2017, that the School Board of the City of Norfolk hereby honors the life, legacy, and contributions of John William Fowler to the City of Norfolk, Norfolk Public Schools, and the society as a whole, signed by Rodney A. Jordan, Board Chairman, Dr. Melinda J. Boone, Superintendent, and myself, Janelle Banks, Clerk of the Board. So we'd like to present you with that. And we also have a plaque in memory of John Fowler, one who served Norfolk Public Schools for over 20 years, a consummate professional who was greatly valued for his expertise in constructing and renovating schools in the division. And so we'd like to present this plaque and resolution to Mrs. Fowler and her family. Our last recognition is in honor of our first school board student representative, Mr. Torian Esprit, and Mr. Jordan will give a few words. Yes.
So forgive me for being on a little lean here. A couple years ago, we had a joint school board meeting with the Norfolk Council of PTA, and we had some young people in the audience. They were with Teens with a Purpose, and they stood up and they asked, how can young people be involved with the school board, and could a young person be on the school board? We did not have a policy for that, but the board joined right in, and we created a policy that resulted in our first student member of the school board. And so we are so pleased that Mr. Esprit has served in that capacity. So he is a trailblazer as a school board member, and trailblazer in many other ways, honor graduate from Norview High School, plan to stay here right here in the region and be a part of the Old Dominion University team there. And even in our work session we just had, he's already working with Nike this summer and has brought partnerships for the division to consider how we can better serve our students in a partnership with Nike. So Torian has just been a breath of fresh air. We appreciate his presence. He's one who's has no qualm whatsoever about speaking up and making sure that we know the opinions of students. And so it's been great to have him. We look forward to him continuing to visit with us and be supportive of us as he matriculates at Old Dominion, but Norfolk Public Schools will always be his home, and he's always welcome here anytime he'd like to come visit or share a word. So, Torian, thank you so much for your service.
Dr. Boone, Mr. Jordan, school board members, that concludes our recognitions.
So before we move forward with citizens' comment, I'll just offer Torian 90 seconds. If he'd like to, I'm just teasing. I just offer Torian time to give any remarks that he'd like to give and thoughts on having served in this capacity and any other message that you would like to share with us or with those who may follow in your footsteps.
So first off, I would like to thank the school board and Dr. Boone for presenting me the opportunity to sit amongst you and be involved with Norfolk Public Schools in such a way. I never would have imagined this to happen 2 years ago, doing interviews in the panel. The last school year, last 10 months of my life have been a quite amazing journey, and I wouldn't have been able to go through it in the way that I did without my fellow members. They brought me in as family. Understood every aspect of my life, and without question, they were there. It was an amazing experience for me. Definitely sad that it has to come to an end. If I could stay with them for as long as I could, I definitely would. But nevertheless, there are more to come who have even better ideas, even more innovations and inspirations that need to be heard through the city and the school system. And I just ask that you support them very much so in the same way you have done me. Be open to what they have to say and help them grow as a person as well. There's a lot coming through Norfolk Public Schools, especially through its youth, as you can see here tonight with all of the very young elementary school students. One of them will be sitting right here one day giving a 90-second speech. And they will be more happy than ever to be sitting amongst the superintendent and the school board of Norfolk Public Schools with the nice crowd in front of them. So once again, thank you, and to the next school board rep, be ready. It's going to be fun. So thank you all.
So just like to thank Torian again, and thank you all for indulging our recognitions. It's very important to us to make sure that as a school board, we always remember our purpose here is really for young people. And so having Torian on the board or whoever may follow him always allows us to stay focused on that. Next on our agenda is citizens' comments on agenda and non-agenda items. Before we do that, first I just wanted to recognize the presence of Councilman Paul Riddick, who's with us here this evening, and wanted to recognize his presence and thank him for his support of Norfolk Public Schools, and thank the City Council for their effort in working with us on our past budget and as we continue to address future budgets. For those of you that may not be familiar, or maybe your first time here, what we're going to do is we're going to allow individuals to come to the microphone. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. We follow what's out there in the news. We follow what's on social media, so we know that there are individuals here that would like to address some matters related to Booker T. We know there are individuals here that would like to address some personnel matters. And so to the extent that we can, we're going to try to group individuals, but each individual that signed up to speak will have an opportunity to do so. I did want to just make a couple of things clear from what's been out there in the community. So one of the things that I've read and that I've seen is some discussion of the school board having an effort to close Booker T. And so I just want to say up front, there has been absolutely positively zero discussion, consideration whatsoever by the school board or the administration around closing Booker T. Washington High School. We have had discussions as we were working with a facilities planning firm to look at enrollment, look at our specialty programs. The board had a work session back in January talking about our specialty programs. We're going to continue to have that discussion this summer. But I just wanted to make sure if anyone has heard or read that there's some effort on behalf of the school board to close Booker T. Washington High School, I just wanted to make sure that you were very much aware that that is not the case, and there is no effort at all on behalf of the school board in that regard. With that having been said, when your name is called, if you would come forward to the speaker's podium, as you can see, the podium may be adjusted to suit your height. We ask that you state your name, whether you have a child in Norfolk Public Schools or if you're employed by the system or have some other connection to the school system. We ask if you would state your position, give facts and other relevant data as you deem appropriate. If you represent a group or an organization, you like to ask those individuals to rise and be recognized, feel free to do that. If you have any written statements or documentation that you would like to provide to the school board, you can hand that to the school board clerk and she will provide that to us. We do limit speakers to one appearance of 3 minutes. There will be a little clock that'll come up on the screen, and we just ask when you hear the ding if you would wrap up. I believe we have many people that like to speak tonight, so we like to be fair to everyone and make sure they have an opportunity to get their 3 minutes and be heard. I want you to know that the board does not engage in back and forth with speakers. We're going to listen. We may have some comments later on in the meeting, but during the time that you're at the microphone, our attention is to you, and you have the floor in the audience before us. And so with that, I'm going to turn to Ms. Banks, and if you would call the first speaker.
Thank you. We have 29 speakers signed up thus far this evening, and our first two speakers are Emily Tremmel, followed by Alasia Smith. Ms. Tremmel's not here. We'll have Ms. Smith, followed by Destiny Harrell.
Ms. Banks, just in case someone is outside the room, let's just hold the name and make sure we give them an opportunity to speak if they arrive. You may begin whenever you're ready.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Today I will be talking about the situation on the principals that are being demoted, I guess. Today I'll be speaking on behalf of Dr. Rhonda Ambrose. I know Dr. Rhonda Ambrose since I've been in elementary school, and she's always loved kids and still does. She will go over and beyond and will even go out of her own pocket just to provide for kids. Dr. Ambrose's position as a principal not only means a lot to her, but her students, her staff, her parents, and I know especially me. It not only deeply affects her, but like I said, all of us. She has so much in store for the new campus Stella School to support and improve student test scores and learning. Taking away her position will not only leave the new principal with even bigger shoes to fill, but it will also leave the kids and the students, the students and the staff empty. She has made a lot of progress within that school so far, and taking away her position will, only make the next principal with even bigger shoes to fill. For over 20 years, Dr. Ambrose has been working proudly for NPS and has earned her stripes for principal. Every principal here today who may unfortunately be getting demoted has earned their position as a principal for a great reason. Being principal, I'm sure, comes with great responsibility. These men and women once were granted their positions, so why take it away?
Thank you. And just again, can you just share your name and?
Alasia Smith.
Alasia Smith. And what grade are you in?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm a rising 10th grader at the Lake Taylor ROTC program.
All right, thank you so much.
Good evening. My name is Destiny Harrell, and I am a rising 10th grader at Granby High School in the IB program, and also a member of the NAACP, where we're being taught to be active in our community. This is why I stand here before you tonight with other supporters in protest of the demotion of Dr. Rhonda Ambrose, a person that has been a role model for young women, a dedicated teacher, instructional specialist, and principal during her tenure. She has dedicated over 20 years in the Norfolk Public Schools and should not be demoted for any reason. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speakers are Mr. John Williams, followed by Mr. Paul Riddick.
Good evening, members of the school board and Dr. Boone. My name is John Williams. I currently work at Norfolk CSAP as a building supervisor. First of all, I want to thank you for the great job each one of y'all been doing, Governor, in Norfolk Public School. And especially I want to thank Dr. Boone for the outstanding job she had been doing since coming on board as our superintendent. She came on board running, still running, working hard to make sure our children receive the best quality education Norfolk has to offer. Pretty sure she had gone through many pairs of shoes. I did have something I wanted to come today and talk about, but at this time I'm gonna talk to y'all another time. I'd like to talk to y'all personally at a later date.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Riddick.
Good evening. First, I'd like to thank the school board for giving me the opportunity to speak. And secondly, I'd like to thank you for all that you do to try to make Norfolk Public Schools one of the best school districts in the country. Quite often, citizens don't realize the work that you put in as being a member of the school district. I came initially to talk about Booker T. Washington High School, and since Mr. Jordan has allayed a lot of the people here, our angst and fears about the closing of Booker T. Washington High School, that removes that part of my speech. But what we need to realize is that there is a lot of work that needs to be done to Booker T. Washington High School, and recognizing that is a budgetary issue, and while the school district was not funded to the level that it wanted to be this year, that made it even a greater challenge for Booker T. One of the thoughts that I have, and I'm going to suggest it to the other 7 members of the City Council, is that we evaluate BTW and find out exactly what's wrong with it. And we might have to advance you the money and then debit you later. If you, seriously, seriously, we might have to advance you $2 million. If you look at the athletic fields at Lake Taylor and Booker T. Washington, as well as the field houses. Those field houses and fields were built by the City Council. And we didn't come back and ask the school district for any money. We just recognized that something needed to be done. And I also forgot about the field over at by ODU where Granby and Maury play. We recognize there's certain things that you cannot do with the challenges that we have in our budgets, cut back in state, and certainly what we look forward to that's going to happen on the federal level as far as cutbacks are concerned. And so I plan to go back to the other 7 members of the council as well as the city manager to see what we can do to help you out in that effort to make Booker T. Washington a healthier school in terms of removing mold and things of that nature that makes it a sick school. And I just ask that you give us a true evaluation of what needs to be done at that school so that we can do what we need to do to fund it. I'm sure that we can find the money somewhere. If it's made, could be some closeout funds from the 5 schools that we are constructing. But just give us a true assessment of what needs to be done. And I promise you, I'll work as hard as I can to make sure we get it done. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speakers are Lula Sears Rogers, followed by Percy Johnson.
Good evening to you all. Mr. Rodney Jordan, we want to thank you so very, very much for clearing up that rumor. Thank you so very much. That really has made our hearts light. As mentioned, my name is Lula Sears Rogers. I am a 1959 graduate of the historic Booker T. Washington High School, the only Norfolk high school to hold graduation in 1959 due to the closing of the secondary schools of the city to comply with the laws of massive resistance. 13 of my 15 siblings are graduates of this school, making it a total of 51 when all family and extended family members are counted. All over the world, my family branches out to include 2 retired state Supreme Court justices, Georgia and Virginia, and even my daughter who sits there with me, who is the current Teacher of the Year. All products of my family at the great Booker T. Washington High School. Now that the rumor has been squashed, Booker T. Washington joins the I.C. Norcom High School in being the last of the remaining historical high schools in the state of Virginia. What are your plans? Will you repair it? Will you refurbish it? Will you rebuild it? What will you do to bring this 43-year-old building back to mint condition and make it attractive to the students of Norfolk, as are the other high schools in the city? What can we do to stop students from walking by this historic school to attend the other high schools that are more inviting, Maury, Norview, Granby, Lake Taylor, thus keeping the enrollment at a continuous all-time low at Booker T. Washington High School? The mold, the lighting, the roof, the slats falling from what I call the waterfall in the back of the school. I don't know what that is back there. The air condition, the heating, the softball, baseball, tennis courts are all in poor condition. What can the tens of thousands of alumni do? If this is just a rumor, then when will the work begin to bring this historic school up to date, which should include technology and other resources? Alumni from all over the world are waiting for your reply. We are the mighty Bookers. We are the mighty Bookers. Thank you so very much for giving me your listening ear.
Good evening. My name is Percy Johnson, and I'm here to represent the Booker T. Washington class of 1961. I was called to ask to come and say something about the school. I really feel like Booker T., the Norfolk public school system itself, has been very fruitful for a lot of the students like me. I started out at J.C. Price in Norfolk. J.C. Price was a school that only had about 3 grades in it, and we had pot-bellied stoves we used to heat up the school. The idea that we went to Lindenwood when we left there, and we went to a school that actually had a cafeteria. I had never been in a school with a cafeteria before when I went to Lindenwood. From that point on to Jaycox, then on to Booker T. And then you know what? I kept right on going. I went on over to Norfolk State and finished. After I finished at Norfolk State, I became a Norfolk public school teacher. And I stayed in the system for 30 years. And I have really enjoyed the system. I think it has something that we can work with, and Now, the main things that I wanted to talk about, Ms. Sears, she really hit them. Today I'm here as a representative, and what I want is, we hear so much negative information about Booker T. When we look at the papers, when we hear the news, they're always telling us about the school not having enough students, not having the fighting going on, just the negative news. With our school, we know that it's not all negative because we have some very good students coming out of there. I work with the Bachelor Benedict Social Club, and we present debutantes. In our history, we'll be celebrating our 100th year very soon. We never had a year that we didn't have debutantes that came out of Booker T. When you look back at some of the people that we've had to come out of Booker T, we've had some really, really good people. I think about a friend of mine, Senator Yvonne Miller. I think about Paul. I think about Reverend James Edwards. We had students that came out, they succeeded, they moved on. We have no reason why these students that we have over there today cannot do the same. I was looking at the concerned citizen and the effort that they're putting about, they're helping. I'm with the Booker T alumni now. The Booker T alumni, we're doing what we can to help Booker T. Financially, we're trying to help with the fields. We're doing whatever's necessary. We would like to see the school board help us to put some of the fire back into Booker T. We want to see some of those students coming out again successfully, moving on, doing things. We've asked for this. We're going to help, and we would love to see your participation in helping these things to happen. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Our next speakers are Tony Brothers, followed by Reverend Dr. James Edwards.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Tony Brothers. I'm a 1982 graduate of Booker T. I'm here because I went over to speak to the kids for the awards banquet. And my theme was from Booker T to Game 2 of the NBA Finals. For those that don't know, I referee in the NBA, and I referee Game 2 of the NBA Finals. But I'm a product of Booker T. I'm a product of Zeke Avery, Murtis Thomas, all those teachers that were there. When I went over to the school and I looked around, it's dark. When you walk up, there's mold and everything outside. It needs to be pressure washed. I talked to the kids and they're dark. The hope that came from the banquet, from giving them that little trophy, seemed to mean the world to them. There was a kid there that bat .457 in baseball, and Booker T had the worst baseball team in the entire league. He will be lost because the school is lost. When I got involved earlier in the year with the school, I found out they didn't have any uniforms for the baseball team. So my nonprofit bought the uniforms for the baseball team. I found out they didn't have any bets. So I contacted Major League Baseball and we had bets sent to the school. Then I found out they didn't have any balls. And we got Major League Baseball to send them balls. And so I started looking around and I started talking to the athletic director, and she was telling me what type of budget she has. And I don't know anything about this stuff, so I don't know what you're working with, how you do this or whatever. That's your job. That's why we elect you. But I do know the problem. And the problem is that there's not going to be anybody that has the story from Booker T to Game 2 of the NBA Finals because they don't have the resources. And so when the rumor flies around that Booker T is going to be closed, the rumor is flying around because the school looks like it's already closed. And I would ask you this question. And Dr. Boone, that was a great video. Bruce and I watched it from the other room. But I would ask you the question, what would that video look like if it was shot at Booker T? Thank you.
Mr. Jordan.
Yes, sir.
Members of the board, Dr. Boone. My name is James Edwards III, and I'm a retired pastor here in the city of Chesapeake. I now serve as the church administrator of my home church, First Baptist Church Butte Street, taking a whole 360-degree turn back from where I started as a child, running past Booker T, and now back to First Baptist. I'm doing something this afternoon that I don't normally do. I'm now standing to speak on a false or fake rumor. And I say fake because for the last 30 days at least, every time I turn around, someone was calling me saying they're talking about closing Booker T, or they're talking about changing the name of Booker T. And I thank you for clearing at least half of that up. I heard you say that the school is not going to be closed. What I did not hear you say was the name was not being under consideration to be changed. And so if I'm running behind half of a fake rumor, I hope that changes. If I'm running behind a whole fake rumor, I hope that changes. I'm not a person who listens too much to rumors. I started Booker T in 1957. The first member of my family on my mother's side of the family, and the rumor was I wouldn't finish. I finished Booker T in 1960, Norfolk State in 1969, Virginia Union School of Theology in 1988, got my DMin in 2010, and all that's based on a fake rumor that I wouldn't finish high school. I met my wife-to-be in 1960, when Booker T used to have Friday night dances, so the kids would have something to do. And then after the Friday night dance, we would walk up to the drive-in, Booker T drive-in. We didn't know you were supposed to have a car to come to the drive-in. And I met her, and she was a member of Crestwood High School, which now, I guess some of the people in Chesapeake didn't listen to the rumor that they was going to change the name, or not change the name, but not degrade, but downplay it from a high school to a middle school now. And so I came tonight because I wanted to make sure that the rumor was false. And since I only have 39 minutes, let me say this way. Rumors kind of swell, and it has to start somewhere. Somebody has to plant a seed that they have an idea that something's gonna grow. Otherwise, you wouldn't have the rumor. Now, if somebody planted the seed, Mr. Jordan or Dr. Boone, that you didn't know about, then watch the plants around your garden, because they don't just pop up. They grow from someone putting it in the soil and then they're taking root. And so most of us here, I think, were saying, don't think about closing school. I heard earlier someone say that my father was here the last major time they talked about closing Booker T. He's gone. The baton has been passed to me, and so now the baton has been passed to us. And I think most of us in this room who come on behalf of Booker T are glad to hear you say that the closing of the school is a rumor. We would further like to hear you say that there is no thought or no consideration of changing the name of the school. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next speakers are...
Ms. Banks, hold on. I'll break our own protocol. Had I heard that part of the rumor, I would have included that in my opening statement. There's been no discussion whatsoever by this board about changing the name of Booker T. Washington High School. Just want to make that clear. All right. Ms. Banks.
All right, thank you. Our next speakers are Charles Gore, followed by Vivian Moore Hester.
Good evening. My name is Charles Gore. I reside in the Ingleside neighborhood in Norfolk, Virginia. The motto in Ingleside is, keep the pride in Ingleside. I came this evening to say a few words about pride. I'm a 1962 graduate of Booker T. Washington High School in Norfolk, Virginia. In a couple of months, we'll be celebrating 55 years of graduating from that school. I'm looking at the school through then and now eyes. I thumbed through my 1962 yearbook and I noticed that in 1962, Booker T had 2,640 students. In 1962, Booker T had 99 members on staff. In 1962, the marching band numbered 120. Tonight, I want to say a few words about the word pride. The dictionary defines it as a sense of one's own proper dignity or value. One should not be robbed of his or her pride. Pride is the pleasure or satisfaction taken from one's achievements. The family unit is there to show and support each other during a time of crisis in the family. If the Booker T family is here, make some noise, stand up, do something. Pride has been with me ever since I was born. The immediate family pride. Whenever there's a crisis in a family, we come together in love and support. And we find ways to alleviate the crisis so that our pride can return. I've got city pride. Norfolk, Virginia, my hometown. When businesses decide to relocate somewhere else, I decide not to associate with the business. If you can't do business in my hometown, I'm not going to spend money in bedroom communities where you now reside. City pride. School pride is what I'm here for. The name of my little speech was Booker T. Washington's tarnished pride. The original Booker T was called a factory, but because of the architecture, that factory turned out world-class athletes and scholars. That's polishing our pride. Now, the tarnish.
Mr. Gore, if I can ask you respectfully if you would wrap up your comments, please, sir.
Coming right to it, sir.
All right.
Thank you so much. I was just saying that the tarnish has already been told to you. Things that need to be changed. And I'll just say that the family is here to help. We just want you to understand that we need some help. Between you and the city council, we're looking for it. Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good evening. I would like to make a correction. My name is Dr. Vivian Monroe Hester. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here representing the concerned citizens of Booker T. Washington High School, and I would like to ask the members of the Booker T. Washington concerned citizens to please stand at this time. We want to thank you for this opportunity. We want to thank you for the hard work that you do for our students. But we are concerned not only for Booker T. Washington High School, we are concerned for our feeder schools, because as our feeder schools are in turmoil, our children who move forward are involved in turmoil when they get to high schools. So we're not just focusing on what's going on in Booker T, we're focusing on what's going on in the city of Norfolk, in Norfolk Public Schools. I have not told you, but I am a retired administrator from Norfolk Public Schools. I've been around a while, I've seen a thing or two, and I'm concerned, not just for Booker T, but I'm concerned for what's going on in our elementary and middle schools. It's time for us to make a decision to do what is right. I've heard that we've got construction that happened in Maury, Granby, Norview, all over the city. I did not hear Booker T. Washington called once. Not once. Not for the grounds, not for the interior, not for the exterior. We have valuable cargo in those buildings. We have children who deserve the very best. There is no way this body or any other body can justify not having a decent field for our children even to play on. We are ready to help you. We are here to help. We have a wonderful principal there. She is very much capable of doing whatever it is you would have her to do, but help her. Do not put blocks and obstacles in front of her. Give her what she needs, give our children what they need, give the community what we have earned. We have helped build this city. We have put forth our families in this city, our taxes in this city, and when you are looking at budgets and you cut things out of the budget, like our transportation that we just got, that's gone now. But we are still here. We love our children. We love our school. We want the city of Norfolk to shine. And we ask that you continue to consider what we're asking. And please get back to us, because we're going to keep coming back, because we need to have answers to these questions. God bless you, and thank you.
Thank you. Our next speakers are Cecil Beeman Myrick, followed by Bruce Smith. Cecile, excuse me.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm a 1961 graduate of Booker T. Washington High School, and that's about all I'm going to say about myself. I know what Booker T. School can produce, what they have produced. In 1961, the valedictorian and the salutatorian of that class, June 1961, were both awarded 4-year scholarships to Harvard University for a full ride, both of them. And they've since they have gone on from there to make great strides. Elaine Jones, a 1961 graduate, headed the NAACP Legal Defense Fund in New York City. So these are the products that have come out of Booker T. We know what Booker T can do, but they can only do it if you help them do it. The kids have to have that pride, like they said. Walking to school when the area is flooded is not a pride builder. You took the bus away that you granted, then you took it away, so it's going to still rain. It's going to still be bad weather in the winter. And those kids have to come to school wet and sit in school in damp clothes all day. That's not building pride. That's not even instilling them to even want to learn anything. Secondly, the mold and the mildew. Future health problems are down the line. Major problems. Probably with your teachers, some lawsuits somewhere along the line, because they're in there breathing that mold every day too. And when they have to retire early, that's cutting into their life plan. And I'm sure they're going to be angry and probably start filing, and they know that people are speaking out about it. And the other thing that I wanted to say, you have a title under the name Booker T. Washington School of the Arts. Kind of puzzled. What does that mean? Performing arts? Graphic arts? What type of arts are you talking about? Nobody seems to know. So if you're a school of the arts and no one knows what type of arts are being taught there, who would want to come there? to be a student and not know what type of art classes or what they can be taught that can take them on to a future endeavor. So, I mean, and you did say earlier that you have no idea for closing the school. Do you have a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, 15, 20-year plan of keeping Booker T open, up and alive? You didn't say they're not intended to be closed today or tomorrow, but you didn't say never. So I beseech you, and I just say, it's not about us, concerned citizens, the Alumni Association. We're here to help in any way we can. We love those kids. They're our kids because they say it takes a village to raise a child. And we are that village, the alumni and the people around you that live here in the city of Norfolk. We're that village. Call us and tell us what we can do to help solve this problem. We just want to help, not hinder. Thank you.
Thank you.
You could read.
Thank you. Chairman Jordan, Dr. Boone, members of the school board, good evening. My name is Bruce Smith. I am a native of Norfolk, 1981 graduate of Booker T. Washington High School, and a taxpayer in the city of Norfolk. I am here today because of disparity. Disparity, neglect, years and years of neglect. This is not what we should be here for. We should not be here to stand up for these students because of the neglect of the leadership that is taking place among those that are underserved in our communities. But because they have no voice, we have to stand here and speak out for them. This is our outcry to you for help, to do what is right and to do what is necessary. I have a report that's here about the school systems in Norfolk Public Schools that talked about the different disparities that is going on with regard to Virginia Beach and Chesapeake. And when you compare the disparity and the allocation of funds compared to their school systems, it is atrocious. But furthermore, one of the things that we are not doing is providing our kids an opportunity to thrive. We talk to them and preach to them about you must act right, you must talk right, you must behave correctly. Well, what are we doing? We are setting a poor example for these kids to have an opportunity to thrive. And that's disturbing. I had an opportunity to visit my alma mater before I left for my trip, and I came back specifically early to come and address the school board. But I saw what was taking place, and it looked miserable. Looking through their eyes, I can only imagine the despair and the hopelessness that they feel. But in conclusion, I saw the mold. I saw the roof where apparently it leaks. I saw the condemned tennis court. I saw the air conditioning unit that's some 20 years old. I saw the bleachers in which some lady fell through, and there's a outstanding lawsuit right now. When are we going to take responsibility and do what's right by these kids? Enough is enough. This has taken place for far too long, and we must act now. We've got 3 months before these kids have to go back to school. That mold needs to be cleaned up. That tennis court needs to be repaired. The baseball field needs to be in regulation-sized baseball field so we can provide these kids opportunity to thrive.
Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speakers are Jacqueline Scott, followed by Glennis Mason.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Jacqueline F. Scott. I'm a 1966 graduate of Booker T. Washington High School and currently a resident of the Titustown community in Norfolk. My mother was a 1946 graduate of Booker T. Washington High School, and she and my father had 10 children, 5 of which graduated from Booker T. Washington, 5 of which graduated from Granby High School. The youngest 5 graduated from Granby because guess what? Integration occurred. Separate but equal was over. It was a time the baby boomers had gotten together and they were becoming of age. And they decided to take matters in their hands and walk to the Norfolk City School Board and demand that we receive a new Booker T. Washington High School. We were tired of the factory. The current new Booker T. Washington apparently is showing signs of aging, but not yet 50 years of age. One would suspect separate but equal has now returned, but I choose not to think that. I think maybe there was a hiccup, and that's what happened, and will be remedied. I implore you, as I thank you as well, for educating the many children, to include 2 of my oldest children who are graduates of Granby High School. I thank you for myself, because I'm a graduate of Syracuse University. I thank you for my other siblings who have multiple degrees. I thank you, but I also say again to you, separate but equal was not equal.
Good evening, Mr. Joyner, members of the school board, and Dr. Boone. My name is Glennis Winfield Mason, and I am a former Norfolk Public Schools employee and a proud graduate of the 1972 class of Booker T. Washington High School. On behalf of the concerned citizens, which I will also speak, I ask the school board, superintendent, and public to review the school division's goals and objectives as posted on the Norfolk Public Schools website, which reads, and I quote in part, "The school environment should be responsive and conducive to learning. The physical environment facilitates and enhances the learning experiences available to each student. A responsive environment includes competent, dedicated teachers using a variety of techniques and a classroom atmosphere where students can function and develop according to their abilities. Safety, physical comfort, and appearance also are vital environmental components," end of quote. This is the concerned citizens' 3rd occasion addressing the board regarding our concerns. Because of continuous failure to adhere to your own stated goals and objectives, this failure is demonstrated in the total neglect and decreased enrollment at Booker T. Washington High School. No high school in the city of Norfolk has undergone the level of neglect that Booker T has incurred. The neglect goes beyond the physical plant, as well as it encompasses the failure to provide available resources to support student success. There is clearly a lack of concern and unequal attention to the building, faculty, and students attending Booker T. Washington High School. Our concerns include, but are not limited to, The presence of mold, as we previously reported, continues to be a problem, and you've heard this tonight from several people. While the school system may be working on this and some other issues mentioned, we, the community, alumni, and concerned citizens, will continue to address these problems. Booker T does not have any spring sports, home games, because of the following reasons. The athletic department must use some of their funds to transport students to other locations because they can't have it at school. Tennis courts have been demolished. There's no dugout for softball games. There's no girls' soccer in the evening because the lights are dim. The track is outdated. The bleachers in the gym, as you've already heard, someone fell through, cannot retract. Guardrails, a safety issue, are not provided. Equipment required to make Booker T a school of the arts is obsolete. The school has what appears to be CRT monitors available for classroom use, which contain lead, and the only flat TV screen is in the teacher's lounge. May I continue? Thank you. The multimedia class and theater class needs to be updated with soundproof walls. The carpet needs to be replaced, preferably with linoleum. Tripods are needed for the studio cameras. Updated software and computers are necessary for the photography class, as well as the multimedia lab. A light board that works is required. The addition of a recording studio is needed as an added means to recruit students and to enhance the specialty program. It is noted that some improvements have been made in the auditorium, and we do thank you for that. However, while there are new chairs, there are no numbers on the backs of the seats, no numbers, which to help facilitate ticket sales and seat arrangements, assignments. The lighting was replaced with substandard wattage. The original lighting was 90 watts LED and was replaced by maintenance with 28 watts. It was stated that lights could not be dimmed with the 90 LED. However, research states that it can be dimmed. Other lights were replaced with 200-watt household bulbs. Several requests were made to retrieve the expensive state-of-the-art bulbs, but the requests were never answered. In closing, we want to again remind you that our students deserve to learn in an environment that provides support to their educational needs. This can be achieved at Booker T. Washington High School. If the school system, what seems to be the impression, ceases its constructive efforts to close the school by withholding resources that will make this school successful. Finally, we are told the school cannot be power washed, so we are requesting that the building be painted inside and out. Let's make our exterior and grounds presentable so that we, the community, can continue the pride, as mentioned, that is derived from the rich history and legacy of Booker T. Washington High School in Norfolk. Thank you, and thank you for allowing me to get to this.
Thank you. Our next speakers are Catherine Towler, followed by Dr. Vivian Anderson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Catherine Towler, a proud graduate of Booker T. Washington High School, the class of '69, and a proud retiree of Norfolk Public Schools after 39 years of service. It is my pleasure this evening to speak on behalf of the Booker T. Washington class of 1969. And I must say, Yvonne, thank you for sounding the alarm when we lost our accreditation, because it was at that point that you received my full attention, as did others. thank you. After 100 years, we lost our accreditation. Booker T. Washington was the first black high school in the state of Virginia to receive accreditation in 1914, only to lose it 100 years later. And we understand things are changing. Things are changing. And I do want to thank you, Dr. Boone, Mr. Jordan, and the board for your service. I know you have a hard job. It's countless hours trying to address the needs of the entire city. But in a family, there are times when we must give our attention to the sicker or the sickest child. And Booker T appears to be just that right now. I do want to state that we are not adversaries. We are not the enemy. We are stakeholders. We are partners. We are your cheerleaders. Anything you need us to do, we will do. Show us how we can help, and we will help. We share common beliefs in the values of public education. And the last reason I stand here is because, and much of it has been stated already, but it's because of the legacy of Booker T. Had it not been for Booker T. Washington High School, I would not be standing here. If it had not been for Norfolk State University, I would not be standing here. We're here because we love Booker T. Washington, for it has represented the pride, achievements, and hope of an entire community, specifically the African American community. Booker T. Washington was a lifeline to a better life when other schools were not even an option. We trust it will continue as such for generations to come. This school embodies the achievements and struggles of our fight for public education. Yes, it is our legacy. Its story is worthy of its place in our history, our present, and the future. It is a beacon light for the American dream. And I can state without a shadow of a doubt for everyone in this room who attended Booker T. Washington, it was just that. Currently, the issues are too numerous to deal with, and it's tough. And I'm thinking about it as a 1,000-piece puzzle. And someone has just dumped it on the table. And for you, Dr. Boone, I would think it's probably a 1,000,000-piece puzzle. And we don't have the picture. You know, we must start with the end in mind. We must come together and strategize intentionally with a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, a 25-year plan, 50-year plan, 100-year plan, so that Booker T endures. We must be keepers of the memory. We must be keepers because this is a light to the American dream. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Norfolk Public Schools System on board this evening, and men and women of the audience. I have a 3-page summary to basically share in regards to Booker T. Washington High School. I'm a graduate of the 1964 class of that school, and things that have been shared tonight are worthy of your actual dissecting and understanding how important that school is to our community and the children that go there, attend there today. This afternoon when I came in, I brought a paper with me, and I'm sure that most of you are familiar with the New Joint Guide. Okay, I would like to say to you that there was an article in the last week in the newspaper article, and it was about the Booker T. Washington alumni in regards to whatever was spoken here tonight. But I would also like to share with you the article underneath titled Trump printed on gutting agencies of civil rights authorities. And within that article is stated that the Trump administration has curtailed grants which would give funding and technical assistance to local school districts seeking to desegregate their classrooms. Many school districts which applied for the grant, $12 million, were told by the Trump Department of Education that they would not be receiving them. That's something to think about. And what are we going to do about this situation, which is so important to not only our state, but our communities? And we are all involved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speakers are, oops, lost my place here. Jacqueline Scott.
No,
Oh, she's already, okay, I'm sorry. Beverly Wright, followed by Shakira Flowers.
Good evening. My name is Sharice Cherry, and I'm actually speaking on behalf of Beverly Byram Wright tonight. I am a parent of a student who attends Ruffner Academy, and I'm here speaking in regards to the demotion of our beloved principal, Sally Cook. When my daughter was in the 5th grade, she applied for every specialty program that there was in the city of Norfolk and was accepted into every single program. When she came home, she said, "Mom, we get to go shadow at Ruffner. I'm going to go to Ruffner, and I want to see how it is." So I said, okay. So we signed her up, and she went, and she came back, and she said, "I love it. That's where I want to go. I don't want to go anywhere else. This is where I want to go." So because of the stigma attached to Ruffner Academy, I thought to myself, no, we're going to try a couple more schools. Let's just try. And she stuck with Ruffner. The first day of school, she came home and she said, once again, "I love it so much. Oh my gosh, I love it, I love it, I love it." So I said, okay, fine. I'm gonna love it too because you love it. So for the open house, I was one of the first parents in there, and I was greeted by some of the awesome teachers at Ruffner Academy, but one person that stood out the most to me was Sally Cook. And when I talked to her, I said, "My baby's going here. Please make sure that you're taking care of my baby inside of this school." And she looked at me, and I could tell all of my fears had ceased by the comforting words that she told me, and I knew that my child was going to be taken care of inside of Ruffner Academy. So when we heard the news that our principal is no longer going to be at the principal, and even with the Young Scholar Program being removed out of Ruffner, I still knew that all of the children who are still there, the children who need her, we're talking about a school who, many people, they don't want to go to Ruffner. No teachers want to teach there, but when you have someone who's committed and who wants to be there, the way that Sally Cook wants to be there and the way that our teachers want to be there, why are we taking them from these students? She's only been there for 2 years, and what we've been told is because it's low SOL scores. What we've been told is because it's low teacher morale. But here you have teachers who are willing to go on their lunch break and march and protest all the way from Ruffner and to come down here and to state how much they love their principal and how much they want her to stay there. When you have someone who's helping build a village, I know that SOL scores are important, and yes, we all want our students to have this stellar education, but when you have students who aren't eating at night, and you have students who can't even have their clothes washed, and you have the principal taking their clothes home and washing their clothes, why are we taking them away from them? That's all that we want to know. We deserve to know why this teacher or these principals are being taken away. Thank you.
Take your time.
My name is Shakira Flowers, and I am a student at Ruffner. I am here to talk about my principal, Ms. Cook. She was a great person, a great principal. She did things to make our school better. She gave us better teachers, better SOL scores, and better people. She changed the minds of young people. She did things to make our school better. She was an inspiring principal. Ms. Cook made young people want to go to school and not quit. This year was a great year. She made me do better. She made me be a better person. If there was a problem at Ruffner, she would be the person to change it. As throughout the school year, Ms. Cook made the minds of the young people want to change and do better to make themselves better. When she made us get better teachers, our SOS went up more than last year and the year before. As throughout the year, not just the people changed, but she changed herself. She changed the way she used to be, but throughout the year, it was a great year. And she made me not want to quit cheerleading, even though I wanted to. But it was of the people around me to not want to quit. There was people as on my cheerleading squad to not quit. Our teachers, when she gave us better teachers, the teachers made people not want to quit either. She did things that didn't want. She did. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speakers are Jamie Meeks, followed by Trinity Joyner. Trinity, I'm sorry. Trinity Joyner. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jamie Meeks, and I am a 6th grade math teacher at Ruffner Academy. Last year when Ms. Cook came in, she had a staff that was already there. She had to work with that staff. I was in 7th grade. This year she let me know that I was moving to 6th grade. I didn't want to move to 6th grade, but she did that because that was what was best for the strength of our school. This school year she has come into our plannings, given us strategies to help us improve how we deliver instruction. And despite having an almost new team this year, we were still able to not only keep the SOL scores we had, but increase them. A lot of our staff who were there last year did not get on board with her strategies and the things that she was implementing, and they're not here this year. This year we have a much more consistent, a much more dedicated staff working under Ms. Cook. The only thing consistent with the denied accreditation status that Ruffner has been in for 7, 8 years is the inconsistency in administration. You cannot change a school from undo all these things that have been done in 2 years. So if we demote Ms. Cook in 2 more years, we are going to be in the same place looking for a new administrator. Thank you.
Hello, school board members. My name is Trinity Joyner, and I would like to open with a letter of expression about my principal. Ms. Cook is an excellent principal. Over this past year, she has helped me in so many ways. She has helped me academically and physically. She has helped me get through my rough stages. I struggled in math for a long time, but from the help of my teachers and the help from my principal, I have accomplished to get my high school credit in math. The decision to place an individual such as Miss Sally Cook, who has served NPS for 25 years in numerous capacities at Ruffin Academy, was one of integrity and wisdom. And I want the upcoming 6th, 7th, and 8th graders to experience the wonderful and good things Ms. Cook has done with Ruffin and her students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next two speakers are Geraldine Dickey, followed by Jaquana Gillis.
Good evening, Dr. Boone and school board members. My name is Jerry Lynn Dickey. I've been an NPS employee for 12 years. My first 11 years were served as the middle school math department chair and math teacher at Norview Middle School. This was my first year at Ruffner Academy, but I felt like I was there for years because of the family atmosphere. I currently serve as the Title I data specialist. I'm here advocating for our phenomenal instructional leader at Ruffner Academy, Miss Sally Cook. My focus is not to highlight Ms. Cook as an awesome person, but to highlight her as an awesome instructional leader. This year, the preliminary SOL data shows that over 60% of our students who, as stated before, poverty-stricken, worrying about clean uniforms, lack of school supplies, not knowing where they're going to lay their hair tonight, over 60% of our student population at Ruffner demonstrated mastery on their science and math SOLs, and over 78% of the student population demonstrated mastery on their history SOLs. Some of the faculty and staff were afforded an opportunity to share our concerns with Dr. Boone, and we thank her for her accepting our invitation for a meeting. And our reading scores were the main focal point. However, Dr. Boone and the school board members, please ask yourself, did you all equip Ms. Cook and Ruffner Academy with all of the necessary tools for success? I'll be the first to answer, no. Ruffner Academy went an entire school year without a reading specialist as required according to the standards of quality. HR eliminated the position due to being unable to find a qualified individual to fill position. Therefore, Ruffner wasn't given necessary tools for success. In closing, please afford Ms. Cook an opportunity to return next school year and lead Ruffner Academy to success. Make the right decision and do right by Ms. Cook, the Bulldog faculty and staff, and most importantly, the kids in Ruffner community.
Good evening, Dr. Boone and board members. My name is Jaquana Gillis, and I'm currently employed with Norfolk Public Schools as a 7th grade math teacher. I have worked at Ruffner since 2011, 4 years of those being a paraprofessional. During my years at Ruffner, I have seen a variety of administration, one being Miss Sally Cook. During her leadership, I have seen phenomenal things she has done with the building, even teaching a couple of math classes. My goal in speaking with you today is for you to reconsider the decision made to let Ms. Cook go as principal at Ruffner Academy. Not only is she a good role model, but she is a strong administrator with a passion to make a difference. She is here for our students and has shown growth with limited resources. Out of the numerous programs Ms. Cook has implemented, the one I would like to highlight is the Justification Student of the Bell. This strategy has ensured that students not only know how to solve a problem, but also helps them understand why and develops the critical thinking skill that requires a student to be a 21st century student. Under her leadership, I was able to make a 40-point gain based on the strategies she has implemented. Considering the challenges that we face at Ruffner, Ms. Cook has made vast improvements. In closing, please allow Ms. Cook more time to show you all the positive changes here at Ruffner Academy. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Tyra Soso, followed by Carolyn Clark.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tyra Soso, and I'm a student at Ruffner Academy.
Banks, Ms. Banks, if she'd like to return later, we'll allow her to come back later. Ms. Clark.
Hello, Mr. Jordan, Dr. Boone, school board. I'm Carolyn Clark from the Park Place Child Life Center. We operate an after-school arts and literacy program in James Monroe Elementary. When I learned that Celeste Jones was not coming back as principal next year, I was very saddened because she's only had 3 years to try and turn this school around. I've been in that school 3 days a week for over a year and a half, and I've worked with our kids from James Monroe for 3 years. And I realize that there are huge problems, and I don't think 3 years is enough time to address these issues. Ms. Jones is dedicated to the community. She works with at least 8 organizations and lets us have our after-school programs in the building. And I just wish that she would be able to continue the work she's started, the partnerships she's created, the continuity, the trust that she's built with the community. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Our next speakers are Mr. Jermaine Capel, followed by Ms. Christine DeHaven.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
My name is Mr. Jermaine Capel. I'm not a graduate of Booker T. Washington High School. I'm a graduate of Granby High School. However, I was raised by a lot of Bookers, and particularly one who's in hospice right now, Mrs. Valjean Crudup. If she could be here, she would be here today. In addition, to have a teacher who spoke that I didn't know she was here speaking, who's a Booker as well. I'm here to stand in support with the Booker T family. I'm a historian. I ask that we continue to rewrite our history instead of repeating it. As a community, the world we live in, social media goes a long way. And the reflection I have, or would like for Norfolk to have, is we're all working together to increase and improve our community as one. In addition, I've been taught and worked under Mrs. Cook, and I'm in here in support of her as well. I don't know the particulars, but I know she's an excellent teacher and an excellent administrator, and I ask that we all work together so that the reflection of our city is a positive one, and other communities can look at us and say, what did they do to improve the situation? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Christine DeHaven. I reside at 2626 Argonne Avenue. I have an approaching 8th grader. I'm here tonight based on my great concern for children with disabilities that attend Norfolk Public Schools. This past month, I've been doing some work for Virginia Commonwealth University in the Department of Labor. This work consists of career training for people with disabilities that are making sub-minimum wage. Yes. Did you know that in the state of Virginia, we have about 30,000 people with disabilities that work for sub-minimum wages? This number is way too big, considering only a third of people with disabilities work at all. The minimum wage in Virginia is $7.25 an hour. This past month, I've met people making as little as 29 cents an hour. That's even after working there for 30 years. Most of the people I trained were earning on average about $3 an hour. Imagine trying to live independently in your community making sub-minimum wages, earning only $24 a day. It doesn't get you very far. During my training with these wonderful people, I got to hear some of their hopes and dreams. I stop and think, could their lives have turned out differently? And I think yes, if they were given the proper supports in school, if they were taught basic skills, reading, math, self-care, transportation, were they educated with their non-disabled peers, just maybe they would have had friends help them find jobs or learn new skills. Norfolk has its biggest number of students with disabilities listed under learning disability. What supports are in place to help these children with learning disabilities? With less than half of this population passing SOLs in reading and math, we have a lot of work to do, yet very little is getting done. My son has never passed an SOL. His disability, one of them, affects his working memory, which means he needs a lot of repetition and learning new skills. Yet there is nothing being offered to help him with that. There's no after-school SOL help, has never been offered his whole career at NPS, yet other students are offered that opportunity. Why is there no after-school program for children receiving special ed services? Is it because we're an afterthought? Please do more for our children. Their future is in your hands. Will students with disabilities from Norfolk graduate and get jobs, or will they continue to just drop out at higher numbers than our state and be a burden to our city, state, and country? You have the power to make sure things happen, and I ask that you use that power.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next speakers are James Jarman Jr. and followed by Carter Moline.
Good afternoon once again.
Good afternoon, evening.
My name is James Jarman. My son attends Southside STEM Academy at Campus Stella. His name is James Jarman. My father's name is James Jarman. Born, raised, employed, educated in Norfolk. I would be remiss if I did not mention Booker T. So briefly, the first few seconds, I'd like to say Dream Keepers Roberts Park, Jay Cox, Booker T. Washington, and Norfolk State University. I'm a firm believer, not where you go, it's what you do when you're there. Now, I have a son that attends Southside STEM Academy, and I'm not gonna make it personal. There are 5 schools and 5 principals that have been affected by this board's actions collectively. Okay? I noticed the video that you showed us has skillfully been portraying the Academy for Discovery at Lakewood, and some of the better schools that have resources and those types of things. What I want to say to you, for many of us, our children and our grandchildren are the best seeds we have into the future. Trust and believe. If we don't send resources and seasoned salt to some of these 5 schools, those kids, underprivileged in areas that's financially challenged, will be some of the court people that Lakeland and Lakewood prosecutes. So I would say to you, we can spend the money now on educating them and exposing them to the proper workforce and resources, or we can spend the money later incarcerating them and locking them up. Many of these people and these children, their only structure and regiment and consistency they have in their life is the hours they spend at school. The principals represent that consistency and regiment. You have now transformed 5 communities, the families and the children, into foster children. In some areas, in Southside, for unprecedented 5 times. So I will leave you with this thought, food for thought. Usually a demotion, termination, and those things mean that you're incompetent. You had a lapse in judgment. If we had 5 principals hired and 5 support staff, and they all had to be demoted, then I would say to you, is something wrong with the screening process, the hiring process, and the people who looking at the process. The school board works for us. I'm a taxpayer in Norfolk. If you don't listen to us now, we will show you election time.
Mr. Carter Moline.
Call them.
Oh, Mr. Moline. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Carter Moline, and I have a 13-year-old child with autism. She has a IEP for private day placement. I've been in a year-long costly IEP dispute with the special ed department over placement of my child. This involves a lot of email. One of the things I've noticed lately is that I get a lot of emails with these positive quotes. This one is from Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder says, "We need to make every single thing accessible for every single person with a disability." Well, the reality, as I see it, is that me and my wife have been treated badly, dishonestly, and our child has suffered for that treatment. I want to remind the school board that the VDOE Special Education Performance Report was published on June the 1st. It does not look positive, with many state targets missed, including a 34.38% graduation rate from high school with a standard diploma for students that have an IEP. If the school board finds that this report is not an improvement, please take immediate action now. If this report is inferior to that of neighboring school divisions, please take action now. I have already sufficiently informed the school board that I believe there is injustice for my child. This report identifies everyone else. I hope the school board finds the VDOE Special Education Performance Report is as unacceptable as I do. Please uphold your responsibilities and enact meaningful change of all personnel and culture in the special education department so that these children have a fighting chance of success and parents feel respected without fears of litigation. Thank you for your time. I'll leave Stevie Wonder's quote with your secretary, and I'm letting you know, I also put the note, please do not send me this quote unless you support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speakers are Michael Muhammad followed by Jenny Bobby.
Good evening, board and citizens. I'm overwhelmed and overjoyed to see this response. And as the Reverend talked about earlier, beating back false reports, there was a false report that black folks weren't interested in education. And I'm hoping that tonight that was beat back. But going forward, y'all ought to be ashamed of yourself. Let's just keep it real. You know better than what you're doing. And the reality is, many of you, damn, no, none of you were, nothing, but many of you know better than what you're doing. And you do it because of arrogance, haughtiness, self-absorption, and false pride. It's unfortunate, Dr. Boone, that you're setting yourself up as they're setting you up, because you've never seen this type of outpouring of concern from our community about our institution and our educators like you see tonight. And what they're doing is laying it at your door so that when the move is made to ask you, no one can reach you, no one can access you, and no one can have your back. I got your back, though. And the reason I have your back is because I know what you're working with. And I know that the vipers and the folks around you and what they're doing. But I will say this to you, Dr. Boone, to remove those educators the way that you have and not give them an opportunity to outgrow, as you said to me about a principal, outgrow their immaturity in the position and to become more knowledgeable of their role. When you yourself met with me and my dear brother here, Dr. Kip Rogers, and you told me that you recognized that the principal of the Academy for Discovery at Lakewood, Mr. Tommy Smeagol, had stepped out of his role as a principal and into his role as a councilman and acted in a way of conflict. That is criminal. Hence the criminal investigation by the state police into Mr. Smeagol's actions. But he remains. He remains while these teachers and principals are removed. You're wrong. As you stated in the earlier meeting, Mr. Jordan, we don't never know what hat Mr. Smeagol is wearing, whether it's council or whether it's principal, because he commingles so much. But if you all can give complete access and resources to a councilman who is principal to ensure the success of his school and allow him to handpick not just the teachers, but the students to ensure success, and then to brag about the accomplishments of the school that you all have given all access and all resources to its success, it's wrong. It's wrong. So when you have these principles, when you have these principles that are being removed and it's invoking passion from the young people to the point of tears, they care about their education. And you should take a greater concern about their concern, because I'm telling you, and anybody that knows me, if I say it, it's gonna come true. You next. And but we won't be able to access you because you're putting yourself on an island surrounded by snakes and vipers. May God bless you all to fix the mistakes you made. May God bless, and you know, Councilman, I know you promised to help to get, but that school been raggedy, man. And you all been knowing it. When I ran for mayor, I talked about the rats and the roaches that you all have. And don't do that to me, Mr. Jordan. I saw people talk for 12 minutes.
I'm just asking
Listen, and you all did nothing about it. That condition is causing people to have health issues. Mold and mildew kills people. I know why they can't succeed on the baseball field. They can't run. They're having respiratory problems. If your children were in those buildings, you would do better by those buildings. But these are our children. I can't say that I'm a Booker T graduate, even though I was there for 3 years. They put me out.
Okay.
But that's all right. The school is a school of, it's the most visible school in the city. And you all allow it to be the worst representation of the city and the school system, while yet we have a backdrop of $130 and growing $1 million courthouse. So my brother is right.
Mr.
You
Muhammad.
failed to educate them, so now they incarcerate them. Because you don't do your job in the classroom, Ms. Doyle's husband puts our children in jail for extended periods of time. Y'all gotta fix that. Fix it. Fix it. Because y'all be ashamed of yourself.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm not sure I can follow up on Mr. Muhammad, but I want you to take to heart what he said about you're wrong. Because I've been here for 5 years now telling you all the same thing I'm going to tell you all tonight. And I waited in the hallway. First they wouldn't let me in. Then I waited in the hallway, and I'm about to die, and I know y'all are hot, so I'm going to try to make this quick. Good evening, Mr. Jordan, school board members, and Dr. Boone. My name is Jenny Bobby, and I'm here tonight as a parent of a student with disabilities to speak about the latest data pertaining to Norfolk reported in the Virginia Department of Education Special Education Performance Report dated June 1, 2017. As an engaged and informed parent, I find it appalling how badly Norfolk Public Schools scores show our students with disabilities perform. Our students continue to have the lowest scores of all the student groups. The inability of our students with disabilities to demonstrate basic proficiency in reading and math skills transfers into poor outcomes for their transition into the community after school. Make no mistake, it's not just their performance that's impacted by these literacy problems, it is their future and the future of our community. Indicator 1 of the report illustrates the percent of youth with IEPs graduating from high school with a regular diploma. Norfolk's data indicates that only 34% of students with disabilities graduated with a standard diploma. That's only 1/3 of the students eligible for graduation receiving a regular diploma. For shame on you all that you don't do something about that. That number has not changed in the 5 years I've been coming here. It's appalling. Considering the fact that the majority of these students are students identified as having a specific learning disability, such as dyslexia, such as ADHD and executive functioning, and therefore are more mildly impacted by their disability, I find these low numbers of graduates difficult to explain. Indicator 8 speaks to parent involvement. Data shows that Norfolk is at an all-time low regarding parents reporting that schools are facilitating parent involvement to improve services and results for students with disabilities. I personally can attest to Norfolk special ed staff barring me from fully participating in my daughter's IEP development. Mr. Ron Richardson, Norfolk's secondary special education coordinator, all but forcibly gags me. He's extremely disrespectful to me. He chides me and is outright rude to the experts I bring to the meetings. His behavior is unprofessional and hostile, yet nothing has happened when I've brought his bullying to the attention of Dr. Boone and Dr. James Mitchell. And I know my time's up, but I want to finish. I'm saddened to hear the public comment made this evening regarding the Norfolk 5 principals demoted due to failing test scores. I've had the pleasure of working with Mr. C for several years and was delighted when it seemed he was on the rise as one of Norfolk's finest young leaders. And while I'm disgusted by the punitive efforts of this school district to hold these professional administrators guilty for student standardized testing, I find it puzzling that Dr. James Mitchell has not met the same fate and been demoted for the last 3 years of profoundly bad special education performance indicators. It's time for a change, Dr. Boone. You've shown that you can replace, reassign, and move people out the door. On behalf of all Norfolk parents who find themselves at odds with the special education department, I beseech you to replace Norfolk special education administrators for professionals who are competent, ethical, child-centered, and above all, parent-friendly.
Thank you. Our last two speakers are Ramal Peel, followed by Colvin Jones. Mr. Peel?
You want to go to the next?
If you would permit, Ms. Soso would like to come back and give her remarks.
All right.
Ms. Tyra Soso.
I apologize for earlier.
You're all right.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tyra Soso, and I am a student at Ruffin Academy. And I am here to tell you about how much Ms. Cook has been an inspiration to me at Ruffin, and made inspiration to me at Ruffin Academy. Ms. Cook has made me happy for the last 2 years that I experienced having her as my principal. When I first got there, I didn't have much interest because of the previous principals that I had. When I met Ms. Cook, it all changed. I felt like I was at home. I felt like I was at home and that I could come to her about anything because of how she treated me. She made me a better person. She taught me many life lessons that could help me in the future. And she has inspired me to keep on trying and never give up.
All right.
Thank you. Is Mr. Peel in the house? If not, we'll go on to, oh, he's coming now?
He's right there.
Ramal? Okay. And the last speaker is Colvin Jones, or Calvin Jones. Did I miss anyone that had signed up?
All right. Well, we thank you for coming out tonight. We appreciate hearing from you. We encourage you to continue to come back. We have heard you. And just wanted to also mention as many folks who have spoken about different organizations they're a part of. School board is always open and available to come and speak at any meetings. So if you reach out to us and let us know, we'd be more than happy to come and attend and work together, as was mentioned throughout the evening. With that, we're going to move on to the next portion of our agenda, which is the approval of the consent agenda. Is there any item on the consent agenda that school board members would like to have heard separately? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented? Motion for approval of the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Banks, if you call the roll, please.
Thank you. Ms. Basine?
Aye.
Ms. Doyle?
Aye.
Dr. Gabriel? Aye. Reverend Haywood? Dr. Robinson?
Aye.
Ms. Wagner? Aye. Mr. Jordan?
Aye. What is it that you wanted to have pulled out?
The personnel part, yes, ma'am.
Okay, just for the record, if you just note Ms.
Objection to
Wagner's
the
objection to the
Personnel document.
personnel. Okay. Next on the agenda is item 6.01, 2017-2018 student representative to the school board, Dr. Boone.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan, members of the school.
Excuse me for a moment. If you all can, just so we can finish conducting business, thank you, if we can have your attention. Thank you. All right. Dr. Boone.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Earlier this evening, the board recognized Torian as being a trailblazer in terms of the district's first student representative to the school board. I had the awesome responsibility of interviewing the finalists for student representative to the school board, and there was a lot of interest. Mr. Coleman and others facilitated the process for the selection of the student representative to the board. Tonight, it is my extreme pleasure to be able to recommend to the school board Mr. Arturo Mendoza of Norview High School as the 2017-18 student representative to the school board. Just so you'll know, in terms of Arturo's leadership and talent, he's part of the Leadership Center for Science and Engineering at Norview High School. He logs in a lot of community and volunteer service hours, and right now he's at a Summer Leadership Institute at Princeton, designed for very few students across this country and Latino students who have promising careers and futures as young leaders. So I'm very pleased to be able to present Arturo as a recommendation. And as we've talked before, should circumstances arise that Arturo would be unable to fulfill his responsibilities, I'd also like to recommend an alternate to the board to serve as student representative, and that's Mr. Andrew Califano, rising senior at Morey High School. Again, a young man with extreme, very stellar academic credentials, as well as community service and school involvement. And so these are the recommendations I present to the board tonight for consideration.
Okay. You've heard the report and recommendation from Dr. Boone. Is there a motion to accept and approve her recommendation of Mr. Mendoza as the student representative and Mr. Califano as an alternate?
I move that we accept the recommendation as presented.
I have a second.
I second.
Any discussion? Torian, although you can't vote, anything you like to add to the discussion?
Definitely. If you can recall, Arturo was a speaker one night at a board meeting on ESL students. He entered Norfolk Public Schools, not able to speak English. And for this young man to become a friend of mine during my senior year at Norview High School, I've learned much about him and the fact that he shares a 4.3 GPA. That he got accepted into a Princeton summer program, that he does all of these things. It's just magnificent to me that we recognize that even ESL students have just as much capability and talent to excel academically. And I'm excited. It's a great recommendation, and I really, really support him, and I really hope the community supports him in the same way. Arturo has a lot of great things coming.
Thank you for sharing that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Banks, call the roll, please.
Thank you. Ms. Basine?
Aye.
Ms. Doyle?
Aye.
Dr. Gabriel? Aye. Reverend Haywood? Aye. Dr. Robinson?
Aye.
Ms. Wagner? Aye. Mr. Jordan?
Aye. Next, item 6.02, relinquishing or turning over J.J. Roberts Elementary School to the City of Norfolk. Dr. Boone.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. As we have now completed the construction of the Southside STEM Academy at Camp Estella, the utilization of the former J.J. Roberts Elementary School, or Dream Keepers Academy on Princess Anne Road, is no longer needed for our programming. And it is my recommendation that the board convey this property back to the city.
Is there a motion to that effect?
I move that we adopt the resolution to relinquish control of J.J. Roberts back to the city.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Just a point of reference, that was part of the land swap that was performed 5 years ago as part of the Broad Creek expansion, and we utilized J.J. Roberts as a temporary site for Camp Estella during the construction phase. So it's going back to the city as planned many years ago.
Yeah, and I'd just like to add also, as you mentioned with the land swap, that's part of the north side development for the Broad Creek Renaissance project. As was said earlier, this is an opportunity for the city to hopefully follow through with that plan and build additional mixed income housing that would be a great feeder to Richard Bolin, Booker T, and the other schools that are in that feeder zone. So I hope that as part of the turning over of the property that we also can be supportive of the city's continuing development of mixed income housing on the north side of Broad Creek. Anything else anyone would like to add? Ms. Banks, you call the roll, please?
Yes. Ms. Basine?
Aye.
Ms. Doyle?
Aye.
Dr. Gabriel? Reverend Haywood? Dr. Robinson?
Aye.
Ms. Wagner? Mr. Jordan?
Aye. Monthly financial report, Dr. Boone?
I'll ask Ms. Ingram to join us as we're beginning the closeout of a fiscal year. She'll share where we are with some transfers and things and talk about our next steps. So, Ms. Ingram?
Good evening, Mr. Jordan, Dr. Gabriel, school board members, and Dr. Boone. I will briefly bring you the financial report for the 11th accounting period of this fiscal year that ended May 31st. Revenue received as of May 31st was $280,929,980, or 87.3% of our total budget. And this compares to 87.4% for the same time period in fiscal year 2016 and 85.6% in fiscal year 2015. On the expenditure side, for the same time period, we have encumbered or expensed $281,125,681, or 87.3% of the total budget. And this compares to 90.3% for the same time period in fiscal year 2016 and 87.8% in fiscal year 2015. And a summary of all budget transfers for the 11th accounting period that was $50,000 or greater are in your packet. Do you have any questions pertaining to what has been said thus far?
Questions thus far? Continue.
And the next slide is just another presentation of the way we show the financial reports with comparison as well.
Any questions or comments on the financial report? Anything else you'd like to add, Ms. Ingram? Dr. Boone?
No, as you know, we'll move into the actual closeout of the fiscal year, and throughout the summer, we'll be bringing those final reports to the board and moving into our audit phase.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the monthly financial report as presented for June 2017?
I move to adopt the monthly financial report.
Do I have a second? All right. Any further discussion? All right. Ms. Banks?
Okay. Ms. Basine?
Aye.
Ms. Doyle?
Aye.
Dr. Gabriel? Reverend Haywood? Dr. Robinson?
Aye.
Ms. Wagner? Mr. Jordan?
Aye. All right, last on the agenda for the evening, 6.04, matters of the board. I hope everyone is still okay. We're actually ahead of the schedule that I thought we were going to be. So this is the closeout of the school year, so I'd just like to give each board member an opportunity to offer any thoughts and for the good. So Mr. Esprit, I'll start with you. If there's any final thoughts or remark you like to make as a member of the board.
Try to keep it within 90 seconds. Just want to really commend the board on the selection of Arturo. First and foremost, Great candidate, very strong, very well deserved. Then I want to extend my greatest thanks, as this last school year for me has been a very memorable one, much greatly because of your part and involvement in my life. And I definitely appreciate each and every one of you acting as a mentor towards me. Reverend Haywood gave me a pointer the day I was sworn in on wearing a pocket tie, and I spoke to my manager at Nike after she hired me, and she told me that she really liked my pocket square. So things like that have translated into my life, and I couldn't be any more proud and honored to serve amongst you. And with that, I look forward to coming back and helping Norfolk Public Schools in the city in the same way that I have done so now. And just keep in mind that for the community, it is not necessarily the name of the student that sits in front of you along the board. It's about the work that they put in that you may not know about. It's about the impact that they have on the rest of their peers. And I just say stay patient and watch Norfolk Public Schools thrive. Rome wasn't built in one day, and so Norfolk Public Schools is definitely the cornerstone, and our student reps are the cornerstone of our future. So support them with very, very open arms, much like your own child. Once again, thank you all, and this position by me would be greatly missed. Thank you.
And just so you know, you are eligible to run in the election coming up in May. So.
Am I a politician, really?
Thank you so much. We appreciate your remarks and your service, once again.
Appreciate it.
Ms. Basine?
I too, like my board colleagues, want to thank you, Torian, for a year lending your voice to be the voice of students, which are our most precious assets of the school division. So thank you, good luck, and I know you're going to do great things in your future. I also want to, there was a gentleman earlier mentioned pride in Booker T, but I want to, what I look and see in front of us is public school pride. And I hope that you bring that pride and that advocacy with your state legislators, with your local city leaders, because this is not a one-time event. We've got to maintain that pressure all throughout the school year for all of our schools and for all of our students. So I look forward to seeing each and every one of you, and and additional folks. You guys spread your wings and get more people, and we got to get to General Assembly, we got to get to our city council leaders, and come to the school board to tell us what your concerns are, because your voices matter to us. So I want to thank you all who did come out tonight. Thank you so much for sharing your opinions, concerns, and ideas. And I also want to lastly and most importantly is thank all of our teachers and administrators, bus drivers, custodians, and folks who work in the cafeteria. Thank you for sharing yourselves with our students, and I hope you have a good summer and look forward to seeing everybody next year.
Ms. Doyle?
I want to congratulate all of the high school graduates. We should be very proud that we have these wonderful students now, freshmen in college or off into the career world, that are going to be wildly successful, and it's because of their opportunity here through Norfolk Public Schools. I also look forward to welcoming our new pre-K3 next, in a few weeks, and we're just finishing this year, but next year's right around the corner. So from the graduates, I commend, and I look forward to welcoming the next graduates that will be there in 12 to 13 years as pre-K3s. I do know that, we appreciate your comments tonight, and our focus as a board, we are focused on the children. And we're focused on making sure each and every one of them is individually successful. So we hear what you say. We hear lots of comments throughout the year. And do know, again, we are very much focused on the success of our children. I want to thank the administration for a very strong year. Dr. Boone, thank you for your work and the team. I also want to thank the teachers and everybody else that works in these schools that makes Norfolk Public Schools great every day. And I want to wish everybody a healthy and safe summer.
Reverend Haywood?
So I know that having gone around the district that Norfolk Public Schools has done a marvelous job in so many places, and we have much to be proud of here in Norfolk. I also want to say, that it's painful to me to hear, in particular as it concerns the Booker T High School, to hear some of the comments that has come before us. We certainly understand the history of Booker T and how important it is to this city. And, our desire is to, continually improve on what we're doing there. I'm thankful for Mr. Riddick being here today and for his comments. The city has done much in the way of helping Norfolk Public Schools, and we're so thankful for the partnership that we have with our city. That partnership needs to increase. We certainly need a greater and more assistance on the part of the city. I think Mr. Riddick understood the need for the type of funding that is necessary to improve on a school like Booker T. And so I appreciate that understanding, and we're hoping that, that we can see additional funding that would come to us to assist that particular school. Also want to say, and just echo what Mrs. Doyle has said, and that is, I believe that every member on this board is very concerned about the children and the progress of our children now. And that causes for some very difficult decisions that we certainly are not pleased to make. But I would say that Dr. Boone I appreciate her leadership. It is a courageous leadership. And I believe that over the next few years, we will see the results of the work that she's doing. I thank her for that. I thank the leadership team that is before us today and for their diligence. They're working behind the scenes, but working very hard. And so I appreciate what you are doing, this executive team here. And I want to thank my board colleagues for the work that they have done. There's a great deal of sacrifice. The board chairman has done quite a bit of sacrifice that people don't recognize, but each one of the board members here have done that as well. And I want to thank them for the examples that they have of public service here. It's been a privilege to serve as a board member with Norfolk Public Schools, and I pray a lot. And we will continue to pray that God will give us wisdom to make the right decisions and to stand righteously in the public square, supporting all of our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Gabriel?
I really took to heart the comments that were made tonight by the Booker T. Washington alumni speakers. I'm a very proud graduate of Norfolk Public Schools, 98, Granby High School. I say to people, I bleed gold and blue. My mom was a teacher with Norfolk Public Schools. She passed away the year before I became a school board member. My parents went to Camp Stella. My children attend Norfolk Public Schools. And I'm very proud when I work in the emergency room at CHKD that I tell my colleagues that I send my children to Norfolk Public Schools and that they should too, because we have excellent opportunities for all of our students, and our students do thrive and they go on to great things, as we heard the many testimonies of students coming from Booker T. Washington alone. One of my favorite things about being a school board member is going to schools to visit them. And I was able to visit a lot of schools this year. And this year I was able to bring with Reverend Haywood a couple of our senators and legislators. And they were amazed at some of the things that were going on in our building. They were amazed with the items that our principals, the challenges that they faced. They were stunned by the fact that they could do so many things with the limited resources and the mandates that were imposed upon them by the state. We're the largest urban school division in the state of Virginia, and we're about to face some very serious budget challenges. And I do commend Dr. Boone, and I feel for the position that she is in, because even though I'm here for my almost 5th year, it's taking a long time to understand and really take in all of the pieces of this puzzle that we're dealing with called public education. And so we have lots of challenges ahead of us in order to make sure that resources are given to each of our schools with equity, but to also fight for what is needed. As Ms. Basine had said, and many of our colleagues, we've gone to Richmond to lobby for our fair share of the pot. And so I too want to thank City Council and Councilman Riddick, because over the years, the city has increased their funding for Norfolk Public Schools. And they recognize that while the state has gone down, they're trying to pick up where they have left off. And that relationship is just going to get better. It's going to get better, the communication's going to be there, the needs are going to be clearly illustrated. And we want you in our buildings too. We want you to see the successes that our kids have, because when you see it, you're going to realize the great things that are being done. Torian, we're going to miss you. I think having a student rep on our board is one of our greatest accomplishments, because if we're not here for the kids and hearing your opinion, then what are we here for then? So I'm really glad you're here, and I'm really glad that you have set a really positive precedence for your next folks to follow. And I do want to say thank you to my board colleagues. This work is really difficult. It takes a lot of time. We go to a lot of meetings. We take a lot of phone calls. It's a sacrifice, and it's a sacrifice of love for the future that we have of Norfolk Public Schools. So I thank each and every one of you. And I'm really looking forward to our school year come September. We are moving up. Our scores are going up, more schools are becoming accredited, and that's what we have to focus on. We really have to highlight the positives. Rodney, thank you for your leadership as the chairman. I know you've put in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, a lot of phone calls, and we do appreciate it. So thank you to everyone, the leadership team, our teachers and staff. Have a very safe and good summer. And I look forward to seeing each and every one. Actually, I will not be here in September because I'm contributing to the average daily membership of Norfolk Public Schools. But I will see you in October probably. So with that said, good summer for everyone.
Ms. Wagner.
Well, this is my 2nd year as a board member for Norfolk Public Schools, and it truly has been an interesting 2 years. It's been my honor to serve. I've had some good nights, some bad nights, and some tears. I too am a product of Norfolk Public Schools. I am a graduate of Booker T. Washington High School. I am a fighting booger. As I close out this year, I have to reflect on my mother, who also went to Booker T. Washington High School. One of the things that she always said to us, you don't know where you're going till you know where you come from. And as I sat here and listened to all of my fighting Booker friends, it just made me reflect back on what she used to tell us. You've got to know your history so that you don't repeat it and that you can move forward positively. One of the other things that my dear mother used to say, helping others is the rent we pay for living. And I have to say that our teachers and our principals, my colleagues, being part of the school family, it's an honor and it's a sacrifice. But we give this service because we want to give back we want to give to our children, because they will become the history and they will become the legends. The other thing that I remember that my mother used to say was that loyalty and dedication is rare. And we have to always remember and respect it, because it doesn't come often. And many people come with strange faces, but the loyalty and the dedication are the ones who stick to it and who are always there with you. My prayer is that I will continue to serve and remember that I am here because the constituents put me here. I hope that as I would like to be, as Reverend Haywood has said, give it prayer, much prayer, as I come before the school board and make the kind of decisions, the hard decisions, that sometimes keep me up at night. Sometimes you feel like the Lone Ranger, but I pray that as I continue on this effort to make Norfolk Public Schools, to assist in making Norfolk Public Schools the #1 school in the country, where it can be and where it should be, because we do have great kids here. And one thing I think we all agree on is that all kids can learn. I don't care where they come from. I don't care what the socioeconomic background is. All kids can learn. So again, I give thanks to my board, my peers, the board members, the teaching staff, the principals, and the constituents and the community for giving us the support that you do. Thank you.
Dr. Robinson.
I'm sorry, but I'm not a graduate of Booker T. Washington High School. One of the few people here that is not.
We forgive you.
In fact, I'm not a product of Norfolk Public Schools. I moved here in 1986. I'm from a small town just outside of Detroit, Michigan. But my children, who graduated in 2010 and 2011 respectively, are proud graduates of Granby High School. I think they're proud. But they've both went on to exceptional college careers and are both out there working and productive members of society. In fact, Sam just moved out this weekend. With that said, I witness the awesome opportunity to get an outstanding education in Norfolk Public Schools. I saw my children be touched by incredible instructors, faculty, staff, administrators, down to the support staff. We still have stories about that. It's what drove me to want to be part of the school board 6 years ago. I am moving into my 7th year, most likely my last on the Norfolk Public School Board. It's been a rough ride. It's been an exciting one and a very fulfilling one. There's nothing more important that a community can do than educate their children. It's been an honor to be part of that. And again, I thank my fellow board members. I thank Dr. Boone and her administration and the faculty and the staff and all the people that make Norfolk Public Schools go. We face incredible challenges, but everybody gets up there every day and works to face those challenges with courage and with fortitude, and never want to stop. I want everybody to have a good summer. Closing down a difficult school year, a challenging school year. I want you to rest, relax, get your health back, and come back strong in September, ready to go at it. And if there's not one more thing to be proud of than Norfolk Public Schools and knowing that we can get a positive education out of there, $65 million worth of scholarships, that's pretty amazing for a school system like Norfolk. I think that's just wonderful. And I thank you for allowing me to be part of that. Thank you.
Dr. Boone. I'm going to go last.
No, well, I kind of did mine with the superintendent's report, and I certainly echo the things that the board has raised, and I think too a lot about the public conversation and the comments. And I shared this last time when I spoke with some of the alumni of Booker T. Washington High School. Though I didn't graduate from Booker T. Washington High School in Norfolk, I was raised by my grandparents, and my grandfather was principal of Booker T. Washington High School in Suffolk, when it was the all-black high school, and Booker T. Washington, Norfolk, I know, was one of his greatest rivals. And so, along with Norfolk and a few other places, Georgia Towler, so you know I know the story. But be very clear that what I learned from my grandparents and my grandfather, who was that principal, that it is our responsibility in education to generate the opportunities for students to be successful. A lot of things have happened over many, many years, but our will, our commitment, and our fortitude to make it happen for all students hasn't been shaken, nor will it be shaken. And I am here to be a part of making sure that each and every school is successful. And working with the city, working with our state and federal legislators to help us support public education. I said recently in a public presentation that for a long time public education has been under attack. Right now we're facing a frontal assault because from the White House through many state houses, the goal is to dismantle public education. And had it not been for public education, most of us in this room would not be sitting here tonight. So we fight for individual schools, we fight for individual districts, but I ask that we all lock arms and fight for public education all across the board, because we still get it done each and every day and every year. Thank you.
So just sticking with the Booker T theme for the moment, my mother and her 4 siblings and my father and his 8 siblings were all graduates of Booker T. Washington High School. Proud that my mother graduated tops of her class, 1952. History that I know and that I read and that I pay attention to. And articles going around that was written by a couple of professors dealing with the previous efforts around removing or not rebuilding Booker T, and proud that my Uncle Joseph was involved in that effort to save Booker T. This year, been a lot of work this year. Pay and comp study. We heard from teachers for some time that our staff are not on the right scale and that it has an impact in their decision making, and I'm glad that this school board, with the support of the city council and really with the backing of our teachers and educators who brought it to our attention and helped to advocate for it, that we've started the first phase of addressing the pay and comp study and getting our folks on the right scales that they belong, with the right salaries that they deserve. Alternative education. We've had some tough discussions around alternative education. One of the things that we've heard that making sure we have secure environments are important, and to make sure that we are not contributing to what I call the neighborhood to school to prison pipeline. But this board is taking that on, and we just talked about efforts this summer that we'll be addressing restorative justice as well. Specialty programs. Issue was brought up about what's happening at our high schools, what's happening at our middle schools. Part of the reconsolidation of young scholars is a result of that work. Our focus on making sure that we provide choice options for our parents and that we have excellent programs at all of our schools, all of our high schools, middle schools, CTE school. All those things have made progress this year. And there's so much more that I could go through, but there's a whole parking lot of items that the board that we talk about, and we are working with Dr. Boone and her team, teachers and staff, everyone that works here, to knock those things off. I could mention the work with the custodians and the work with the bus drivers. So it's a lot of things that the school board put before Dr. Boone in her first 18 months. She's working, we're working. We need the community to work with us and continue to challenge us. As all the social media posts were going around, friends and colleagues were calling me up, Rodney, you all right? I'm like, I love it. I've been on that side of the microphone plenty of times. Councilman Riddick will tell you, I'll go down to the microphone at City Council as well. I think the more people we have involved and engage and challenge the system, the better it makes democracy work. And the more people that sit on the sideline, I think we get the government that we deserve when we sit on the sideline. So I'm glad to see the outpouring of concerns, and I hope those commitments will continue. Earlier this afternoon, we talked about a facilities and educational planning steering committee. So that steering committee in the past is what helped us to design some of the changes that you're seeing. We need individuals that are willing to serve on that committee. And so if there's anyone here or anyone that's out there listening that would like to participate in that work to help shape Norfolk Public Schools for the next 5, 10, 15, 50 years, there is an opportunity. We need your input and we need your voice at the table. And then lastly, I'll just say to my board colleagues, we get taught the importance of having a united front. And that is important because we want to demonstrate to our children what our commitment is to them. But it's a lot of fussing, a lot of fighting, a lot of hugging, a lot of tears, a lot of meeting with parents.
I know.
And I mean our parents sometimes. We receive just hundreds of phone calls and email messages that we pass on to the administration and the team to handle. And it's a lot, caring for and having responsibility for children and frankly the future of the city and the country. So I just want to thank my board colleagues for indulging me and dealing with my Gemini spirit. And but we will keep working hard together. We have a lot of work we're going to do in July and over the summer. And so we again ask your support. When we talk about the cornerstone of a proudly diverse community, we mean it, and we're going to continue to strive for it. Thank you again to Dr. Boone and your team, and we're all going to come back soon and continue to roll up our sleeves to do what's in the best interest of children to the extent that we can. And sometimes we'll stumble, and we'll need the community to chastise us sometimes, and sometimes we'll need you to wipe the boo-boo and put a Band-Aid on it. But whatever it takes, let's just do that together for the best interests of all of our children. So with that, it's hot in here, and you all have been with us and stuck through it. Appreciate you coming out tonight and continue to come forward, and we'll see you out in the community, and we'll continue to work together for what's best for the children of Norfolk. So thank you again, and have a great summer.